right, thank you so much, everyone, here for joining us on another episode of ExtremeHealthRadio.com. It's an honor and a privilege for us to be on here with you on Memorial Day.
This is memorable.
This is great, isn't it?
This is the first somewhat holiday we've ever
broadcast on. I know, it's great.
Yeah.
I love it. So, this is Extreme Health Radio. We're broadcasting worldwide from Southern California. So I want to thank you for taking some time out of your day and joining us. We do shows 4 days a week on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday or Sunday. And if you'd like to join us on Facebook, we'd love to have you join our community. You can do so at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook, and then just click the like button and follow us on there. We'd love to have you join what we're doing on there. Stay up to date with our shows. And I want to thank Mike Adams of naturalnewsradio.com for having us on his network. Really cool that he's allowing us to be on there. And then, let's see, for reference, this is Monday, May 27th, 2013, Memorial Day.
Yep.
This is really cool. And this is episode number 105. So if you want to find the transcription or show notes or anything like that, no need to take notes. You can just find all the links and everything on that show page 105. If you'd like to join the show, we'd love to have you join what we're doing. You can send me an email, Justin at extremehealthradio.com, or
Kate at extremehealthradio.com, Kate.
Kate, or you could go to extremehealthradio.com/voicemail and record a message right from your computer.
That is a cool feature.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. You don't even need a phone. Or if you want to call by phone, the number is 949-505-9585. Or by Skype, and our Skype ID is Extreme Health Radio.
Easy.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Nothing wrong with that. So I want to let you know also, if you'd like to support our work on Amazon, if you ever make purchases from there, that's a great way to support us without really doing anything extra. You can go to extremehealthradio.com/Amazon, and you'll be able to make a purchase of anything you like, and we'll still get commission for that as often as you shop on there. So that would be a great way to support our work and what we got going here at Extreme Health Radio. And we've got some great guests coming up. We've got Ty Bollinger talking about cancer.
Yay.
He was our very first guest. And then we've got, he'll be on Wednesday talking about cancer and alternative cancer treatments. Then we've got Dr. Harvey Beagleson from drbeagleson.com. We'll be talking about live blood cell analysis.
That fascinates me.
Yeah, he's I'm sure a lot of you have heard of live blood cell analysis, but having Dr. Beagleson, he's kind of takes it to another level. So
it's the king of it.
He's the king of it. So it should be interesting. And then we've got kind of the father of the paleo diet, Dr. Lauren Cordain from thepaleodiet.com.
Wow.
So that'll be a fun show.
That's going to be a great show.
Yeah. We like to present all kinds of different ideas here. Raw vegan, paleo, raw primal, eating organ meats, raw, it's crazy. So those will be some good shows. And today, I'm really excited about having Jeffery Williams on the line today. It's really great because, a lot of times we have fancy schmancy doctors on and, that kind of thing. And so it's really fun to have a guest on the show that has experiential knowledge with healing and things like that. And so Jeffery has quite a story with his issues with cancer, and he's going to share his story today. And so thanks a lot, Jeff, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So where are you located? I'm not sure we picked that up before the show.
I'm actually just outside of Buffalo, New York.
Okay, Buffalo, New York. So you're on East Coast time. And have you been out there your whole life?
Yes, born and raised in Buffalo.
Okay. Wow. So I actually found you through, Chris Wark from chrisbeatcancer.com, and he was on our site. I forget what episode he was, but he's an interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
I haven't got a chance to talk to him, but in person, but I've emailed him before. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, he's out there kind of just helping people, and he had, I think, a colon cancer.
Yes, stage 3 colon cancer.
Stage 3 colon cancer. Amazing.
Wow.
And I think he had somewhat of a similar story as you did, because I think both of you guys didn't go for the chemo route. Is that right?
As far as I know, yes. With Chris, I didn't do any type of chemo or radiation, and our stories are very similar in the way we treated our cancers. What diets we used and everything else.
Interesting. So How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 26.
26 years old. And how long ago was that? Was that recent?
That was February 26th of 2009.
2009. Wow.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So let's paint a little bit of a picture before your diagnosis. What were you doing in your life? And, kind of just talk a little bit about what your life was like and perhaps maybe some of the things that maybe brought this on.
Well, I ate the standard American diet. Wasn't on any special diet. Vegetables were not my friend. I would put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the type of guy that I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. Was never into vegetables. Didn't like them cooked raw. Didn't eat fruit because it was rabbit food to me. I didn't like it.
Right.
And so I worked. I worked in a couple jobs that might have led to this. I worked just doing service for alarm systems. Is the job I was working when I got diagnosed. But before that, I did exterminating for a season and different things like that. And it just, when you're around asbestos and insulation and you're around those chemicals, I think those were environmental aspects that could have led to it. But also, I think one of the biggest things was my diet. I love milk, and cow milk is really it promotes testicular cancer growth. I don't know the exact specific statistics on it, but I would drink probably about at least a half gallon of milk a day.
Wow. So you said cow's milk, it does have some sort of correlation to cancer, you've read?
Yes. Everything I've read says cow's milk had a direct correlation to testicular cancer in general because it's more of a hormonal cancer.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Besides that, I think it was more the diet that I was on, especially with the massive quantities of milk I would drink, more than the environmental.
Okay. Wow.
So you were about 26 and you were working, doing security systems and things and drinking lots of milk and a lot of meat.
My milk.
A lot of meat and potatoes. Were you doing a lot of other products that contained milk, like yogurt or things like that as well, or?
No, milk was my biggest thing. I wasn't huge into cheese. I wasn't big into yogurts or anything else. It was just it was my beverage of choice. Was every time I was thirsty, I'd drink milk.
Wow, and you probably weren't doing like raw milk or grass-fed milk. It was probably just conventional.
No.
Yeah,
it was conventional off the store.
Well, and the average person probably thinks that's a good thing when you think about it.
Yeah, my whole life I was always taught, drink milk. Strong bones and cookies and everything else. So that's what I did. I enjoyed my milk.
Cookies and milk.
Yeah. Cookies and milk. So when was it?
I like the cookies too.
When was it that you started realizing you were having some problems?
My wife and I tried to have a baby for 2 years.
Wow.
That was just under 2 years. And after 1 year, we started going to a fertility clinic, and she got checked out, and everything with her was picture perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got myself tested, and I basically was almost sterile. I had such a low sperm count, and they looked at my hormone levels and everything else, and they couldn't figure out why my sperm count was I think it was about 2 million. That was it, and the average is 18 million. I think it was.
Oh my God!
20 million.
Wow.
So, when you're talking that little of sperm count, it's basically they almost consider you almost sterile.
Right.
And what my doctors told me. So, what happened is they couldn't figure out what. And they said all my hormone levels were picture perfect, and they said they don't know why. They had no explanation. And I, got every type of exam done as possible. I never asked them specifically if they did test me for cancer, but I had blood tests, I had physical exams, and nothing was coming up.
Wow. So you're just kind of getting checked, and you're kind of turning up blank on lots of things.
Yeah, and so one doctor's like, all right, my urologist, he said, you know, we're going to put you on Clomid, which is actually a woman's fertility drug.
Right.
And he says it has the same effects for women as it does for men. It just boosts, your fertility. So he said, you know, gives me a bottle. He said, this is a 2-month prescription. He says, take it every other day. So then I started taking that, and it was on day 26 was as far as I got, which was 13 pills. Those was the farthest I got on that.
Yeah.
Before I really noticed any problem. And the Clomid brought out the problem.
Whoa.
I don't know how, why, but it did. What happened was I started noticing things about, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 days in. The first ever noticeable thing I can ever think of was I was driving my service truck through the city of Buffalo, and just I had to sneeze. And when I sneezed, I had extreme pain down in my testicles.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. We've never really done this before, but we have a listener trying to call in. Do you mind if we try to take this real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Hello, are you there, caller?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, this is Justin and Kate. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Burdine. I'm calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, excellent.
Awesome.
Did you have a question or anything you wanted to ask to Jeffrey?
No, I just happened to pull up Facebook and saw that you were having the call, so I thought I would see what you had to say.
Oh, okay.
That's great.
Oh, do you follow us on Facebook? Is that where you saw it?
I do follow you on Facebook, and I did also have a natural healing experience with cancer, and I still follow it and am interested in what other people are doing.
Oh, wow. Okay. Did you want to share that?
I need to hear more what's going on first.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're just kind of getting connected up here with bringing all of this together. But we're on the line with Jeffery Williams, who had testicular cancer I think a few years ago in 2009 or so. And he had some really good experiences doing some healing protocols naturally. And so, yeah, that's about where we are. We're just kind of speaking with him right now. And yeah, feel free to share a little bit of your story.
If you're interested.
Let me just hear what other people have to say first. I mean, mine's a little different in that I follow a local practitioner of different. I did a lot of dietary things, and I did something called flower essences. And my flower essence lady referred me to this doctor who had cured his wife of multiple sclerosis, and she said, I think maybe he could help you. He practices something called neuromodulation technique and some other modalities as well that I don't actually remember what all of them are. But anyway, under his care, my breast tumor shrank from what the oncologist called something about the size of a large lemon to virtually disappearing in about 5 months.
A large lemon, wow.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Last time I saw him was a year ago, and he said, well, if I didn't know already there was something here, I wouldn't be able to tell. It's really, really small. So that was my cue to leave, because his next sentence was, but we still want to do surgery and chemo, you know.
Yeah, they always, Jeffrey, don't they always still want to do surgery and chemo after it's seemingly gone, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Oh, man.
Yeah, wow.
Everyone can agree on that, probably.
Wow, so you had some pretty good experiences. What kinds of natural things did you do?
I had read a lot about dietary changes, so I started eating foods like raspberries and other dark berries that have ellagic acid in them, which is causes apoptosis in the cancer cells, causes them to die. I learned that cancer cells are susceptible to heat and cannot really tolerate temperatures over about 104 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. so I use some heat therapy. I have a friend who sells biomat, which can raise your body temperature. So I rely on this biomat for, an hour or two a day. I had also read about castor oil packs that were recommended by Edgar Casey. So I actually put a castor oil pack over the area, and I laid down on this biomat, and I got heat going on it. So there was that. I also read about the difference that having a more alkaline system can make. So I made the effort to shift my body's alkalinity to my pH level to a more alkaline state. Oh God, there were so many things that I read. I'm now taking graviola tea because I want to make sure that it never comes back. I want to continue to do things. I didn't have access to it then, but I do now. So
those are
some of the things that I learned.
Were you starting out from the standard American diet too, or were you kind of eating in a way that you were surprised when you got a diagnosis?
I've been pretty careful about my diet for years, but not super careful. Mm-hmm. One of the books I read, the Anti-Cancer Diet by David Irving Schreiber, who was a PhD research scientist and who himself developed brain cancer about 20 years ago, and his prognosis was that, for that kind of cancer, the average expectancy was 6 months, but he went to work on the whole problem and managed to live another 20 years.
Wow.
And so one of the chapters in his book speaks to the importance of eating organic foods. And while I had kind of been interested in that, and I did it sometimes, I've become a lot more careful about that, and a lot more careful about all the carcinogens and hormone disruptors, endocrine disruptors that are in not just food, but in personal care products and household cleaning products.
Wow.
This stuff is everywhere. So I make a lot of stuff myself. I use coconut oil for my skin care and moisturizer. I use a deodorant that's coconut oil based, and God, all this stuff now that I do myself.
Oh,
I am on the path with you. Same thing.
Natural products and organic stuff. And
sounds like we're all on the same path. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing some of that. I really appreciate that.
Sure. I was just going to listen. I wasn't going to talk.
Well, you never know, do you?
You never know. But I'm happy to share because I see. It's so funny. I belong to a women's group. There's 8 of us, and half of us, 4 of us, have had breast cancer, either precancerous or one woman had stage 4 breast cancer. Everybody else went the conventional route, including one woman who was diagnosed with the very same thing that I had about a year later. And it troubles me when people are just like, okay, the doctor said I should just go have surgery and chemo and don't try to look at other things. But I never try and force what I did on anybody else or proselytize in any way. But
right.
People should know there are alternatives.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for your story. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
So, Jeffrey, I'm sure that you kind of relate to a little bit of her story as well.
Yes, actually. Some of the things that she did and lifestyle changes she made, the same things I'm doing now.
Yeah, and it sounds like she's really on the ball with, wanting people to know about alternative options. Where were we? Do you remember, Kate?
The infamous sneeze.
That's
right.
Yeah,
the infamous sneeze.
Let's go to that.
Let's go back to that, yeah.
As I was saying, I was driving my truck, and this was the first time I ever, noticed anything. I just sneezed, and I was in, pretty tremendous amount of pain just from a sneeze, and I was wondering, like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just dismissed it, like, okay, some weird thing. Didn't think anything else of it. And a couple days later, I was actually working, and my wife called me up, and she's like, how you feeling and everything else? And I said, for some strange reason, I'm having this, kind of a dull pain in my testicles. And I was kind of being quiet. I was working on this alarm system, and I was in this closet and electrical room, and I was trying to be quiet because I'm in an office building, and I don't, this is not something you want to always be talking about out loud. So And my coworker, I didn't realize, was standing outside the door.
Oh, okay.
And he heard my whole conversation I was having with my wife about, just a little alarmed, I'm just got this dull pain. And I get off the phone with my wife, and he walks right up to me and he goes, I didn't mean to, to listen in, but I had testicular cancer when I was in the military. And he says, you need to go to a doctor tonight.
Oh, my gosh. So he recognized your symptom of the dull pain and almost immediately.
Yeah, and he's like, I had testicular cancer, and this is what I had to go through. And he did the chemo route and everything else, but his was not as severe as mine was. He just had the orchiectomy, which was the removal of the testicle, and then that was it. And, he did one round of chemo.
Wow.
And that was it. And, he said, oh, just do it. It's fine. And so I went to the doctors, and that night I went to the local emergency room, and they they discovered what was going on. They realized there was something there, but, they're just radiologists, and there wasn't any oncologist on call, so they're like, there's something there. And I never bothered to check the size of my testicles or anything else to compare them off of each other until they mentioned something. I'm like, at this point in my life, I never heard, that check your testicles and make sure they're the same size and everything else.
Right.
And I just, I didn't realize that my right testicle was about 3 times the size of my left one.
Mm.
Wow.
So, and that's what was causing the pain.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Are there other? Oh, sorry, Jeff. Are there other symptoms? If people are listening to this, are there other symptoms maybe that people need to look out for, or are those the main ones?
No, they're the main ones. Is just any type of pain, dull or sharp pain in your testicles. Just get to a doctor as quick as possible, because it's one of 2 things. Typically, when there's pain in the testicles, it's testicular torsion, which is where your testicles are actually the nerves and the blood and the veins and the arteries going to your testicles are actually twisted, and it's cutting off the circulation.
Okay.
Or the other thing is testicular cancer.
Wow.
So they didn't know what was going on. They just said, we see a growth here through the ultrasound machine. They're saying there's something there, but we can't diagnose it. We can't, and there's no one on duty right now that we could talk to about this. And I had 8 people in the room, so there goes all my dignity.
Yeah.
So it's like they keep calling more people in, and they're like, check this out. Do you even know what this is? And
right.
You're like a science experiment.
Yep.
Exactly. So what happened is they just said, all right, go to your urologist tomorrow. They said, call them up, say you need an emergency appointment tomorrow.
Okay.
So I did that, and I was actually able to, get out of work early and go to my appointment. And I went to my appointment, and the doctor checked me out, and he says, it's either the torsion or the cancer.
Okay.
And he said, I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards the cancer, because he's like, what you're describing, he goes, with the infertility and everything else, he says, I'm leaning towards the cancer. So he said, but we need to do emergency surgery tomorrow morning.
Oh, my God.
And this was the 25th of February.
Wow. Hey, Jeffrey, we have to take a short break, and
no problem.
You have some really interesting, I think this is kind of like the turning point of your story where you start talking with doctors. And so he had some really, really interesting, I don't even know what you call it, interactions with doctors over the course of the next few months. So it would be really interesting to hear that. We're with Jeffery Williams, and I don't believe you have a website. Do you, Jeffrey?
No websites.
Okay, no problem. And so if you would like to join us on the show, you could call Extreme Health Radio on Skype, or you could call, it's 949-505-9585. And again, we're with Jeffery Williams, and we'll be right back after this break. So there's no real way to avoid toxins or chemicals in our daily life. It seems like we're exposed to them no matter what we do in our lives, from paint fumes to mercury fillings, coal-fired plants, perfumes, soaps, off-gassing of carpets in our houses, and genetically modified foods, and foods that are sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, the xenoestrogens in plastics and car exhaust, secondhand smoke, even your dry cleaning and laundry detergents, even your mattresses have chemicals inside them that outgas. So getting these toxins and chemicals and poisons out of your bloodstream and out of your fat cells is going to be really critical moving forward in our society, because it seems like every year there's more and more chemicals that keep becoming introduced with new products in the market. So I would consider getting one of these far infrared saunas. We've got a great sauna developed by Phil Wilson, and I've known about his work for many years, and I'm so proud to be offering his sauna on our website. And he's been in this business since 1975. And this sauna is really great because it slows the aging process. It helps with weight loss and burning calories. I think you can burn like 600 calories in 15 or 20 minutes, and it helps to cleanse the skin. It improves your sleep and helps to prevent illnesses like flus and colds, as well as energizing the body. And it's great for improving blood circulation and promoting cellular renewal, as well as increasing metabolism and inducing profuse sweating. And it's really great. And the great thing is too, is you don't produce any lactic acid. So you can sweat without producing any of this lactic acid that you would normally produce if you lifted weights or went for a big long run. So if you're interested in this, you can check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna. It's great because it sets up in about 2 to 5 minutes, and it's portable, and it's super easy to clean. It's got low electromagnetic field radiation coming off of it, and it produces energy and heat inside the sauna evenly. It's great machine. So if you're interested in sweating like this for only 15 minutes a day, it's great. It requires 0 preheating. It's got a 1-year warranty, and Phil Wilson is a great guy. We're so proud to be offering his saunas on our website. So if you're interested, check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna, or you could check it out in our store, and it's $990 plus $25 shipping. And that's really a good deal because many of the saunas out there, you can check them out. They're in the thousands of dollars, $2,000 to $4,000. So this is great. You can buy it through PayPal. You don't even need a PayPal account. It's 100% secure. So consider doing this if you're interested in living a long, healthy, disease-free life. So check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna.
100% listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join the show now on Skype at Extreme Health Radio or call 949-505-9585.
Hello.
That's 949-505-9585.
We are having a good time with Jeffery Williams, talking about his cancer and his testicular cancer, and it's really a lot of fun. And I think it's really important to share stories like this because, it's great to talk with, doctors and PhDs and authors and these kinds of people. But I think there's something really powerful about listening to someone who's actually gone through it. They don't have anything to promote. They don't have a website. They just have their story and how they overcame it. Because there's something I think more powerful than hearing. Theory is really great, and I love theory and all that. But when you listen to someone who has experiential knowledge, it gives you hope.
I completely agree.
It's just amazing. So, Jeffery, before the break, we were kind of right up against the point where you were then starting to talk with the doctors and, starting to go down that whole road there. So, Jeffery, you were right up against the point where you were starting to talk with the doctors, and then if kind of your whole story takes a shift right around this point, doesn't it?
Yes, this is the beginning of my challenges with the doctors. It's more of a battle I had with them over, me wanting to decide my own fate and my own treatment.
So at this point, you had seen your very first doctor, right? Because you'd seen a few of them, and then what did they want to do? I think surgery the next day. You said.
Yes, they wanted to do surgery the next day, which was a orchiectomy to remove my right testicle.
Okay.
And at that point, I'm just like, good, go for it. I don't want to have cancer. Didn't know anything about cancer, natural healing, or anything else.
Okay.
At that point. So I just said, okay, let's do it. So the next day, I had the right testicle removed. They found 7 different types of cancer inside.
Oh, my gosh, 7 different kinds.
Yes. I can't remember all the names of them, but there were 7 different ones that were in there. And so they said, they gave me Tylenol with codeine in it.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, go home. And
wow.
So it was just like, an hour after surgery, all right, you can go home now. And which Tylenol codeine does nothing for the pain that you go through.
Oh.
And so they told me a couple days, they said, all right, follow up with us in a week. And I went back a week later, and they said, a couple days later, and the doctor said, all right, what I want you to do is go to Roswell, and I want you to just get a full body scan. I want you to talk to the people at Roswell, which Roswell Park is the local cancer hospital, or like nationally ranked and everything else of being one of the best hospitals.
Okay.
And it's only 20 minutes from my house, so it was really good. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll go there, and but the doctor said I wouldn't worry about anything. He says, when I was in there, I looked around. I don't think you had any cancer spread to anywhere else in your body.
Okay.
I think we got it all. You should be fine.
Yeah.
But just go there as a just in case.
Yeah. At this point, you're feeling okay. You feel like you've got it removed, and okay.
And I was thinking, great, we're in the clear,
Mm-hmm.
So a couple days later, I think it was March 3rd, I went to Roswell. They got you right in. They get you in that building as fast as possible.
Right.
And so my wife and I go into there, and you go see different doctors, and you got to go see a radiologist first and get a CAT scan done.
Uh-huh.
And then you're in all these waiting rooms.
Right.
And and the people are so nice and everything else, but it's just kind of like gloomy in there. I don't know, just my wife and I had this feeling. It's just very sad and depressed in there.
Right, right.
And all these, we made these comments before we even got in to see a single doctor. We're like, man, this place is just, I don't know, just
sterile.
depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so depressing. But we went to see our first doctor. It was a Dr. Kim.
Uh-huh.
And he walked in the room and said to me, after seeing my CAT scans from that day, and I didn't talk to a single other soul, so I don't know what's going on here. He walks into the door, and just first words out of his mouth were, you have 2 to 6 months to live.
Seriously?
Oh, my gosh. So that's the very first thing he says to you. He doesn't even say anything else.
He didn't even say his name. He just walked in the door and said, you have 2 to 6 months to live.
What?
And I was, floored. And that was, the look on my wife's face was just shattering.
Oh, my God.
Destroyed me.
Yeah.
And, it was worse than the news was, just to look at my wife's reaction to that.
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm trying to go, back up. What do you mean? He's like, you don't know you have a massive tumor in your abdomen. I said, no. No one said anything about this. He says, yeah, you have a tumor that's about 7 inches by 4 inches. It goes from kidney to kidney and basically right up to your lungs. And he says you have 2 to 6 months to live. You got to start chemotherapy immediately. They wanted to give it to me that day. And he says also, he goes, you got to have massive surgery.
Oh, my God.
I'm like, oh, my word. So
2 to 6 months to live. And then how long did he spend in the office with you there telling you this?
I can't remember. I spent 9 hours there that day. I know that.
Oh,
probably probably spent maybe 20 minutes, a half hour just hammering, we were just asking questions because we were just taken back.
Right.
We were floored by this, I mean, I'm like, what do you mean? The doctor, the surgery on me the other day said he thought it was in the clear and it was just to come here as a just in case.
Right.
And I was just floored. And he's like, yeah. And he goes, this is what's going on. They showed me the CAT scan. And he's like, this whole mass here and all this over here, this is all cancer.
Oh, my God.
And he goes, what it's going to do is, it was wrapped around my aorta and my vena cava, which supply basically from your lungs down with blood for your body. And he goes, it's actually wrapped around there so tightly, he says it's compressing it. And also he says, since it's right at your lungs, he says we're seeing spots in your liver, and it's right there, like wrapping around your kidneys, basically. He says there's not much we can do.
Was panic setting in at this point for you? Or?
A little bit, yeah.
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 That's natural.
We walk out of that appointment, and my wife and I are just like, we're right outside the urology wing. There was this set of chairs, and we just sat down. We're like, whoa, what is going on?
Yeah, what just happened?
Yeah, what just happened? And, my wife Bridget said, a friend of mine gave me a book about, since I had the surgery, about this Hallelujah Acres and how they fight cancer naturally. And I said, okay, it's something I might want to look into.
Wow.
And, she said, I just heard horrible things about chemotherapy. And we had two friends of ours that were going through chemotherapy at the time. And unfortunately, neither one of them survived. And later, probably weeks later, both of them actually begged me when they were laying on their backs, weeks from death, begging me, do not do chemo.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
So what I did that day is I ended up there was a little information kiosk right in front of us where we were sitting there, and I just went up to it and I just typed in side effects of chemotherapy.
Oh wow.
Now this is the cancer hospital's kiosk getting their information. I got 51 pages of side effects of chemotherapy.
Oh my gosh.
51. It was just listed. 51 side effects. The number one was death. And then the number two was cancer.
Yeah, because it is.
I think number three was organ failure. I said, I read the first three. I'm like, seriously, they want me to do this?
Yeah.
I'd rather die of the cancer than the chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people are dying from the chemotherapy, not the cancer itself.
Actually, I have two of my parents' friends. One of them was actually my elementary school gym teacher. Was killed by that same hospital, and I say killed because he died of chemotherapy poisoning when he never actually had cancer to begin with.
Oh my gosh, what happened? Did they just?
He was told he had lung cancer, and he did chemotherapy, and he died of chemotherapy poisoning.
And he didn't even have.
On the autopsy, they realized that he never actually had chemo. I never actually had cancer. I mean.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, they misdiagnosed him, and that happened to two people that my parents knew within 6 months.
Oh my gosh! Wow!
Yeah.
That's just
so
frightening.
My wife and I decided that day when we left the hospital that we are not going to do anything that day. Let's go home, think about it. And the one assistant to the doctor literally started screaming at us. She's like, "What do you mean? You're not going to do chemotherapy? In like either today or make an appointment today to do it this week."
So he was in the exam room and he was basically yelling at you?
Or she?
She was, yes. She was. And she was raising her voice, getting all heated, like getting almost in our faces over it.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, this woman's really, really put off by this. But I'm just like, I don't want to make, this is my personality. I don't like to make major decisions like on the fly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, no, I want to wait. and just giving me a couple days to process this, at least. And we left it, and we started doing our research. My wife did 99% of it. She was working less hours than I was at the time, so she would go over to her mom's house, use the computer, and she ended up doing all the research. I started up on the Hallelujah Acres diet, like, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 days after the hospital. My first initial visit to the hospital, to Roswell, and started up on the Hallelujah Acres diet, and we just took our credit card and just put a bunch of supplements and everything else on it that day.
So is that an actual place people go to for healing, or is it more of like a protocol you do?
You can do both.
Okay.
Hallelujah Acres is a diet.
Okay.
They have their own diet, which is a raw vegan diet that incorporates a lot of juicing and detoxing.
Okay. Along with supplementation then as well?
Yeah, along with supplements and stuff you can do. And then also they have, I think it's in North or South Carolina, I can't remember. But they also have a place you can go to.
And so you yourself never went there?
Nope, never went there. At this point, I never knew anyone that has ever cured themselves of cancer naturally.
Uh-huh.
I never talked to anyone, never read any stories. I just knew that if I'm going to die, I'm going to go out fighting.
Wow.
And I'm not going to be by chemo.
This is powerful. So what did that look, or do we need to take a break, Jay, or are you looking at me?
Yeah, no, I think, you know what, let's go ahead and take this break because I want to have a longer segment at the end, actually.
I want to know what it looks like.
And talk a little bit about some of the protocols he used and more about the Hallelujah Acres diet. We're with Jeffery Williams, and if you would like to join the show, you can do so at Extreme Health Radio on Skype. That's our ID. Or you could call us, which is 949-505-9585. And we had a call come in a few minutes ago, Jeff, but I didn't want to cut you off. And so we may have another call right after the break, but I want to get into a lot of what you're talking about here with the Hallelujah Acres diet. So,
is it Hallelujah or Alleluia?
Hallelujah.
With an H?
The website is hacres.com.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, and we'll be right back with Jeffery Williams after this break. So rebounding is, in my mind, one of the best ways to detoxify your lymphatic system, and it's the only exercise on earth that will actually detoxify your lymphatic system. And your lymph system is responsible for storing toxins and chemicals and poisons that you're exposed to. And there's no pump for the lymph system. It doesn't have a heart, so you have to move it up and down, and it's filled with millions of one-way valves that get squeezed and pushed and opened and closed every time you jump. And we feel like we've found the best rebounder on the market today. It's the Rolls Royce of rebounding. It's called the Bellicon. And I highly, highly stand behind this product. It's absolutely amazing. If you want to hear what some of our guests said about it, check them out on our store. You can listen to what a lot of our guests have said about rebounding and the Bellicon in particular. So a lot of times people will go on the rebounder with oxygen for cancer if they're really sick. And it's one of the most powerful things you can do to cleanse your body and to exercise every single cell in your body, every organ in your body. It's the only internal organ exercise you could do. And it's absolutely incredible. It also helps to rebuild bone density because of the up and down motion, the G-force that gets applied to every cell of your body, and it tightens and tones your body, and it's just really, really great aerobic exercise. And the Bellicon is made with straps, these bungee cords instead of springs, so it's silent, and they have a warranty on it. It's the best rebounder on the market today. So if you're in the market for one, I would highly recommend just saving up and getting the Bellicon, because there's no other rebounder on the market that's better than this thing. I firmly believe that. So if you're interested in it, check it out, extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON. And you can learn more about it and watch the videos on that page too. So thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy your rebounder, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All free shows, all the time, on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Call using Skype at Extreme Health Radio or call 949-505-9585. That's 949-505-9585.
Okay, we're having a good time here with Jeffery Williams talking about we're going to get into a little bit of the Hallelujah Acres diet, which is really cool, and some of the protocols that he used with his testicular cancer. Amazing story so far, isn't it, Kate?
Oh my gosh. I didn't know it was going to take that turn.
It's amazing how aggressive the doctors are.
My gosh.
Amazing. Jeffrey, are you still there? And we're with Jeffery Williams. And Jeffrey, before the break, you were talking, you were starting to get into the Hallelujah Acres diet, which is really cool. I'd never heard of that until I actually heard about it originally from Chris Wark. But that's something that you kind of dove into full on?
Yes, just because it was one of the first things we found in our search for natural cures.
Uh-huh.
And, we were on the website, you could read the success stories, and we decided, let's try it. Let's give this a try. And I started it immediately. I think when we found out about it, I think I started it the next day.
Wow.
And I dove. My wife found all the information out, and she would just give it to me or print it or however she can get it in my hands, because we didn't have a computer at the time, so we had to go borrow people's computers at at my mother-in-law's house, and we ended up doing all this research there. And she would just take notes, and I'd just read the notes or read the stuff she printed out, and I said, okay, let's do it.
Wow.
And it's raw vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
That also does he cuts out all the sugars,
dairy.
Dairy, complex carbs, simple carbs, limits all that.
So at this point, were you really motivated to do a diet that cut out a lot of the foods that you love because of the prognosis, or did you find that to be difficult?
I actually kind of found it very easy to cut that out.
Because of what you were facing, kind of thing?
Yeah, what I was facing. It's, I looked at it as like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
And I don't want anything, it's like, I don't want to die, and I'll do anything it takes.
I'd rather eat celery.
Yeah, exactly,
Right.
And and that was what it did. I mean, it got hard. There was times where it was hard and difficult when I was, go to family functions and stuff like that, and, all your family's sitting around eating pizza, and you got a salad, stuff like that. It was hard then.
Right.
Like going to birthdays, and it's like, hey, want a piece of pie or a cake or something like that, and it's just like,
I do.
Okay, let's walk in the other room now.
Walk the other direction. So now at this point, you were the doctors had done the surgery and removed your testicle, and then on your stomach as well.
Actually, not there yet.
Oh,
that was
okay.
I had the second surgery April 20th of 2010, and that was to get the second tumor out, the large one that was 7 inches by 4 inches.
Okay.
But that's at this point in the story, I just found out about it, and I just I told the doctors, this is what I want to do, and they got really upset with me, and just told me I was an idiot, I was a fool. Just got a lot of resistance from that.
Wow.
And I ended up making a deal with the one doctor. I said, all right, if what I'm doing doesn't work, I will come in and do chemo. But I want to give this a try.
So how long did you want to give it a try for?
And the deal was this. If it grew or stayed the same, if it grew, then I would come in to do chemo. If it stayed the same or shrunk, my tumor, then I would come in, then I would stay on it.
Okay.
And then if it grew, I'd go in and do chemo.
Wow.
And so they knew this deal. We talked about this deal. And what happened is over the next couple months, I would come in once a month, get a CAT scan. From that point on, and every month I came in, they were trying to get me again. At first it started off as lying to me about my test results.
Are you kidding?
Flat out lie.
What did they say?
What they did is my CAT. I came in the next month for my CAT scan, and it shrunk not a lot, but it did shrink. My tumor.
Okay.
And they told me it grew massively.
Wow. Did they show
And I'm
you?
like, okay, what were those numbers? And here's the thing: is they didn't realize that I was going to the radiologist after I get my CAT scans done and getting a copy of my radiology report.
Wow.
So you get your CAT scan done within an hour. The radiologist reviews everything, writes up their own report on it. They give that to the doctor, and all the doctor does is bring up the CAT scan just to show you the picture of it, and read right off the report of what the radiologist says.
Wow.
So I went to the radiologist and said, "Hey, can I have a copy of all my information?" And they're like, "Yeah, no problem. We'd be happy to do that." So I would have a copy of it by the time the doctor got a copy of it, and I'd go see him.
Uh-huh.
So they started lying to me and saying, "Oh, your cancer grew massively. And, instead of 6 months at max, you might have 4. We don't know." And I'd look at the report and be like, "You're lying to me."
So you actually
it says
called...
right here the measurements of the tumor, and it shrunk. It did not grow.
So, yeah, you called them out right then and there.
Yes.
What'd they say?
Yeah.
Oh, the report is wrong. Like, you're reading the report. So you're admitting your own faults. And then, stuff like this constantly happened. Then they would refuse, after this, that visit, they would start refusing to give me my reports.
Unreal.
And they wouldn't let me see what the radiologist said.
Is that even legal?
So, I don't know.
Oh, my
So
God.
I had the one scan, and it was 7 days later. They still hadn't sent me a copy of my results yet. And they were supposed to mail me the CD, and all this stuff comes on a nice CD. You can bring it up on your laptop. You don't need special software or anything else. And you're also supposed to get a copy of the write-up. And at the one appointment, I went in there, and it was 7 days later, and I still haven't got it. And what they did was the doctor was blocking it because what I was doing was working. It would shrink by very small amounts, but my tumor did shrink.
Yeah, and even...
talking a couple millimeters, but it still was shrinking. It was not growing like they said it would.
And even if it didn't shrink, if it was staying stable, I mean, that's a victory too.
Yeah, that's a victory.
Absolutely.
Considering they said that this is a fast-growing cancer, and
Right.
I would be dead in months. And then it's like, it showed up. It was like, I think it was right about the 4 or 5 month point. I'm like, I'm still not dead, and my tumor is shrinking. And they had no. It would just get mad at me from that point on.
Wow. So at this point, you must have been really losing faith in the whole medical system at this point. You're probably you're losing faith, and then you're also gaining faith in God's treatment, natural treatment things.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I was, and I started looking, doing the research, and my wife doing the research and me reading it over. I started realizing, the 3 things that cancer needed to survive: low oxygen levels, your blood, and sugar, and an acidic environment is what cancer needs. And what I ended up doing is I was looking at this, and I'm like, I was waiting in the waiting room one day, and one thing at Roswell, they have all these volunteers come up to you, and they're always trying to push hard candy on you. Coffee, bagels, any type of candy, chocolates.
So they come around and just kind of offer these things.
They have these people, the volunteers, and what they do is they go around with a cart, and they think, these volunteers, I talk to them, and they think that they're doing this great service.
Right.
Here, have a whole bunch of hard candy, or have coffee, which, coffee makes your body's acidic.
Right.
Or, plus, most people in the world put sugar, cream and sugar in their coffee, too. And they're offering you all these things that, they discourage people from taking stairs, too.
From doing
what? Another thing,
taking the stairs.
When you got to go up and down between floors.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
They would discourage people from taking the stairs. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't want me to oxygenate my blood. You want to feed me sugar and make my body's blood acidic while I'm waiting in your waiting room.
To get the chemotherapy.
To get,
that I don't want.
Yeah, that I don't want. And I'm like, forget this, you know. I just like.
So it just
you're
kind of
trying to kill me. Basically.
It all kind of hit you at one point. You're just kind of your mind just kind of opened all at one point right there.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it did, and I was just like, all right, this is just a really messed up system.
Wow.
And what happened from that point on is, you know, I started going there less and less. I think I made my appointments every two months, or 2 or 3 months. I forgot at that point. And you know, they started trying to withhold my test results. The 1 month I actually had to call the. I started making all the phone calls, and the radiologist said, "Hey, we sent that to your doctor. They're the ones that actually have to mail it to you." So the radiologist sent like 3 or 4 requests to have all my information sent out from my doctor. No one would do it.
Wow.
And so I ended up calling. I called up. I was really angry, and I called up that hospital, and I said, "Who is the highest-ranking person in the hospital right now? I need to speak to him." And the woman's like, "You know, what's going on?" And I just said, "I'm really aggravated about the level of service I'm getting here at this hospital. I need to speak to someone high up as I can get right now." I said, "The president of the hospital, vice president, start working your way down." And I think it was the third in charge of the hospital that day.
Okay.
And I basically went off on the guy. I said, you know, I was polite, but very stern. And I said, "What's happening here is just wrong. You don't treat people this way. You don't withhold people's test results. You don't lie about test results." I had those test results faxed to me within under 5 minutes.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Just from that
After
one call.
that one phone call. And from that point on, the guy says, he apologized. He says, "If you have any other problems from now on, let me know."
Okay.
So it was like another 1 or 2 appointments later. I went in, and they, I did all my research, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, I need to have the second surgery, because even if I kill this whole tumor, it's so large, chances are it's not going to go away. It's not going to completely dissolve down to nothing.
And how big was the tumor in your stomach again?
It was 4 inches by 7 inches.
Okay. Wow, that's pretty large. Okay.
Yes, and I never knew it was there. Never felt a single symptom the whole time I was in there.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Never knew it was there. And so the last time I went to Roswell was I talked to a surgeon because I knew I had to have a surgery. It's called the RPLND surgery, which is retroperitoneal lymph node dissection.
Okay.
And basically to remove that large tumor. And they still wouldn't biopsy it. I tried getting them to biopsy it the whole time to see, check on, how effective my treatments were. Nothing was, they wouldn't do it. And so the doctor, the surgeon I talked to, who said, "All right, I want to do the surgery on you." He goes, "But I read your file. I know all the problems you gave all the other doctors." He told me flat out, "I don't care if you live or die on my operating table."
Oh,
he goes,
my gosh.
I will do the surgery, but I don't care what happens to you."
Wow.
And I literally took a step back, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, this appointment's over," and I walked out.
Oh my gosh! Could you imagine being told that before you go into surgery from your surgeon?
And right before that, he did tell me that I had a 80% chance of losing at least one of my kidneys, if not both.
80%. Okay.
80%, and the 20% chance of dying during the surgery.
20% chance of dying.
Yes.
And this was the same guy that told you that?
Yes, and told me that he didn't care if I lived or died.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So I told the guy, I said, "Forget it. I don't ever want to talk to you again." And I started getting harassed. My wife got harassed too by the doctors in the hospital too. They would start sending. They sent certified mail to my house, telling me that you're going to die if you continue down this course.
Certified mail.
Certified mail.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife had to sign for it. I was at work, and I forgot to add in this whole time. My wife got pregnant right after my first surgery with our triplets.
Oh
wow.
my gosh.
How amazing.
And forgot to throw that in there. So my wife was pregnant, and they would call my wife up. They had her cell phone number from one of my emergency contacts on the sheet. And they would call my wife up, and they would say, "You need to convince your husband to do chemotherapy, or he'll never live to see your triplets be born."
That sounds
and they would
like
just call.
that
it's
sounds
harassment.
like Gestapo, Germany, or something.
Yeah. And
unreal.
they would harass my wife. And then finally, the one time I picked up the phone, I said, "Don't you ever call this number again."
Wow.
And it's
I have to.
The damage that causes my wife, who's dealing with triplets, carrying triplets, which is not an easy thing at all. And being told that they would call, they could keep calling her.
Wow, the
God.
stress level.
Did they call after you had told them not to call?
No, they stopped calling my wife. They were good about that. But I started getting phone calls from the I don't know the guy's exact position, but he was like one of the heads of the hospitals. The hospital there, and he said, we brought your case up to every doctor in the hospital, and they all agree with us. You've got 2 to 6 months still to live. At this point, it was, I've been dealing with this for 8-9 months.
And you still have 2 to 6 more months.
I still have 2 to 6 months to live, but they couldn't explain why I'm still alive.
Oh my gosh!
And what they did is they said, every doctor in this whole hospital agrees with us. You're going to die, and you need to do chemo. And by the way, you're probably going to die from the chemo. It's not going to probably save you, but it'll prolong your life.
And they actually told you this. That's so strange.
And so I just said, forget it. So what I did is I went through the phone book. I looked up every urologist surgeon there was in the phone book. I forgot the doctor's name, but I got all the way down to the S's before I found a doctor who was willing to do the biopsy on me.
Okay.
That I've been asking for every appointment. Do a biopsy. Let me find out what's going on. We can find out if this mass is cancerous, non-cancerous. What is this mass made of? Because they still wouldn't tell me.
And this is the mass, the 4x7 in your stomach.
Yep. Yes, which was cancerous.
Okay.
We found out later it was cancerous. And every time I'd ask for a biopsy, they'd sit there and they'd tell me the same thing. And I quote this: "If it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's a duck." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They said, "You had 7 different types of cancer in your testicle. So without 100% doubt in our minds, you have the same 7 types of cancer minimum in your abdomen." And that's how they diagnosed me. If it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, it's a duck.
Well, I'm sure they've learned that in school, right? That's scientific
Yeah, exactly.
method.
I'm like, doesn't everyone get diagnosed with cancer that way,
Yeah, that makes
Who needs a biopsy? Let's just use the duck analogy,
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
okay. So at this point, you're looking to get a biopsy, an actual biopsy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I went and got an actual biopsy in late December, and I got the test results early January. That was also the same time I started seeing a naturopath that was in the area. I finally found one, and she said, keep on the course of treatments I was doing, which is the hallelujah acres, the juicing 6 times a day. I was taking SEAC tea at that time, which is a liver cleanser and detoxifies your body.
How do you spell that? Or how do you
SEAC is, give me 1 second here. I'm going to have to look it up. ESSIAC, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there's 2 S's in there. ESSIAC. Yeah.
Oh, I've never heard of that before. Wow,
Yeah.
powerful.
And
okay.
it's a really good, liver cleanser.
So you were doing the Hallelujah diet, the SEAC tea, and what else were you doing?
Tons of juicing.
It's juice 6 times a day.
6 times a day?
I would juice about 5 pounds of carrots a day.
Wow. Okay.
Let alone with apples, let alone with any other vegetable I could fit in that thing. Every meal I had, I made a point to every meal I had broccoli in it, spinach in it, and raw garlic.
Okay, because those are anti-cancer types of
They're
foods.
all extremely anti-cancerous vegetables.
Okay.
So every meal I had broccoli, spinach and raw garlic in it.
Interesting. And you were doing all these juices. Were you doing anything else, like supplements or any types of other things?
Some of the time I was doing, just forgot the name of it. I just had it.
No problem.
What the heck is it? It's a spice. Turmeric. Sorry.
Oh, it's turmeric. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was taking turmeric, but not during the whole time. It was, I think I started that late. And,
yeah, it's so interesting with that. I mean, there's all kinds of different protocols. Like a lot of people do the Gerson therapy, and
I never even heard about the Gerson therapy, by the way, until like 2 months ago.
Oh my gosh, really? Okay.
No way.
Yeah, never knew about it. I was actually, I got invited through my story being on Crispy's Cancer. I got invited to speak at a local church event that had a natural healing, a meeting that they were having, and they asked me to speak and then tell my story. And that was the first time I ever heard of the Gerson diet and treatments.
That's amazing how many different alternative treatments there are out there.
Yeah, it's just one thing my wife and I realized is just it's unbelievable how much information is out there.
So you did the Hallelujah diet, Acres diet. You did the 6 raw vegetable juices a day. You did the Essiac tea, and you did the turmeric. And did you do anything physically, like sweating or rebounding or anything like that, or did you just kind of stick to the foods and things?
Just stick to the foods. I didn't even know anything about rebounding. If I knew it now, I would have definitely been doing it. But I just learned about rebounding a couple months ago.
Interesting.
So I'm like, oh, sweet, let's try rebounding. So I got myself immediately went out and got myself a rebounder and.
Excellent.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I didn't know anything. This is what I did was the only thing I knew about.
Wow.
I started finding out other things, but it's just like this was working. This is what I did.
So now at this point, you're doing this, and you're doing this kind of therapy, and the tumors, it's shrinking, but slowly, but it is shrinking.
Yeah, it did shrink, and then it kind of like plateaued. Probably about 6-8 months into it.
Okay.
Just plateaued a little bit, and I finally got the biopsy done on it. Turns out the whole thing was dead. It was dead cancer cells.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And this was right around the beginning of January. I got the results back, and I said, "Awesome, okay." And I talked to the doctors and everything else, and I said, "What could have made the tumor shrink? Could this have been dead cancer cells the whole time?" And every doctor I talked to said no. They said nothing on earth would make this shrink, and they said this was live cancer, and now it's dead. I said, okay, what could have killed it? I wanted to sit there and admit that what I was doing was working.
Right, you're just kind of baiting them,
I'm kind of baiting them into it, and no one would say anything. No one would admit it that what I was doing was working, but they didn't even have an option, not even like a thought. Well, it could have been this. And they had nothing. They had no answers.
No answers, yeah. I've asked my doctor about cancer as well. Before I knew too much, and he was similar to that. He didn't know really anything. Had no other options to give me.
Yeah, and
amazing.
What happened is I decided I'm obviously not going to go through Roswell ever again. I will never set foot in that building.
Wow.
And I haven't. But I just I started looking up the doctors who specialize in the surgery I needed, the RP-LND surgery. And I found a guy in Cleveland, which was about 3.5 hours from my house. And I went to the Cleveland Clinic, and I had my surgery there on April 20th of 2010. And I think it was April 24th of 2010 was I got the full pathology report done back, and they told me that I was completely cancer-free, and that the tumor that they did take out of me, which was a 9-hour surgery.
Wow.
But during that surgery, they sent everything to the pathologist. They looked at everything, and they said there was not a single piece of live cancer, not a single live cancer cell in the whole tumor.
So they the original doctors that you spoke about just a couple minutes ago said that it was alive.
It was a live tumor at one point, but I killed it.
Wow.
What my treatments killed it. So
interesting.
The year of being on Hallelujah Acres diet, the SEAC, the supplements, and everything else taking, it turned it from a live cancer into dead cancer. I got a biopsy, and they said it was live, and now it's dead.
Interesting.
And then I got it confirmed with the pathology report from my second surgery.
So at this point, after the surgery and that was confirmed, did you continue on that diet, and where are you at with that today then?
I did continue on with it for a little bit, but I had to get away from it a little bit, just because of finances. My wife had to stop working, obviously, when she was pregnant with the triplets.
Yeah.
Being the triplet dad, you're kind of a really involved dad. So
kind of.
just a little bit.
Oh.
So I didn't, like my wife and I, we would try to eat healthy, would stay away from anything that was processed foods. I don't eat really anything that's dairy except for a little bit of cheese now and again.
Sure.
In a meal, I stay away from dairy, stay away from sugars. I really watch what I eat.
Yeah.
I still juice. My kids are 3.5 now.
Oh.
They love juicing with me. We do it almost every day. Try to do it almost every day.
And they love it.
Yes, they love it.
Nice.
But for a while there, it was really hard, so I kind of took a little time off of the diet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm getting back into it now. I had to, it's just time. Because there's a lot of food prep when you eat raw like that.
Yes.
There's a lot of food prep. There's spend a lot of money on organic vegetables.
Yeah, we know that very well.
I mean, I just couldn't afford to keep it up, to the full extent that I was on it. So, and I still like my meat. So, I'm more of on a paleo diet now, where I try to do organic meats and stuff the best I can, but a little bit of chicken, turkey, I incorporate in my life. But most of my meals are meat free still, and I do watch. I do watch what I eat. I watch the toxicity, that surrounds me. With even everything from cleaning chemicals. My wife makes her own cleaning cleaning chemicals. She makes her own laundry detergent, everything.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of cancer-causing agents going on, and
it's just everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah, there's a lot of toxic chemicals and things.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that is
it's story. I'm taking time off. I took a little time off, and for about the last year or so, my wife and I have been slowly getting more and more into it, where we really, we did the preventative steps. I still do the SEAC now. That never stopped.
Okay.
But I just don't do the full Hallelujah Acres diet anymore.
Yeah, no, because that's that's a really radical diet. I did a raw vegan diet for 7 years, but it's a radical diet, and it's great for cleansing, and for some people it's not sustainable for some people, but
it wasn't sustainable for me because I would eat every 2 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had the same experience, but I would make a massive plate full of food, and 2 hours later, I'm starving again.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of that.
You eat 6-7 meals a day when you're doing that.
Right.
And we couldn't keep it up financially, so.
Right.
Yeah. So we made some cuts, and then, now that, right now I work 2 jobs, and I do a lot of work with that, trying to build all this stuff, incorporate this stuff back into my lifestyle.
Oh, that's so great. So now, Jeffrey, do you have an email address that you want to give out? Do you have anything that you want to give out in case people ever want to contact you and ask you questions? Or
yeah, sure. My email address is a Gmail account. It's saved082105 @gmail.com.
Okay. That's SAVED 082105.
05.
Okay.
And it's a Gmail account. You can get me at any time on that Gmail account. I don't have a website or books or anything else, but that's the best way to do it. Since I put my story on crispycancer.com, and that's how people have been getting hold of me, and I'm really shocked about the amount of response I get and people asking me questions, and it's really great, to be part of these people's lives, and get to hear their struggles and their stories and be able to relate to them. And they can relate to me because they're going through a lot of the same stuff I went through.
That's so great. Such a support that you are, and you
haven't wasted any of this.
Yeah,
story.
What a story. That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for sharing all of that information. And gosh, I'm just kind of with my jaw on the floor with some of the things that went on. But I think it's important to get out, and I think it's important that you shared that.
Thank you. I appreciate the chance.
Thank you. That was fascinating.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Wow, that was an amazing story with Jeff, wasn't it?
I feel like we have a new friend in Jeff.
Yeah, golly.
That was quite a story.
Can you imagine going to a surgeon and having him tell you that I don't care if you live or die on my operating table?
No. I can't imagine anyone saying that to anyone ever.
Calling your wife, because, talk about psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
Where they're going to call your wife because, call your wife and scare her into getting your husband chemotherapy.
It just makes you wonder the whole, their whole motivation. Like, why do they want that so bad? Why do they care so bad when they say they don't care, but they're really caring that you're not getting their treatment? So clearly it's a money issue or a control issue or all of the above. Like, it blows my mind.
It completely blows my mind.
That makes me, sick.
It makes you sick. And it's important to see some of the real alternative motives that's going on. And, I think that Jeffrey probably caught, how if you run into a few bad people, you think, all people of this ilk are that way. Right. And you kind of, and there's some good people in the medical industry, and I'm sure he would say the same thing. But I think during his journey, he kind of just caught all the bad people along the way.
I completely agree.
But if he hadn't caught those people, he may not have decided to go alternative.
And look where he is today.
Thousands of people are going to be listening to this episode and contacting him, and possibly will have some kind of hope.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that they did that.
I'm so honored that he took the time. That's so cool. He took the time to get his story out. Like you said, thousands of people, this will be up there forever, for years. And someone with a specific, maybe a similar, I should say, story.
Right.
Might hear this and have their whole outcome change too. So.
Wow. That's just amazing. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this edition of Extreme Health Radio. Really, really appreciate it. And that's our goal, is just to let people know there's options, there's choices, there's alternatives. You don't have to go down the medical route if you don't want to.
It's your choice.
It's your choice. And you don't even have to run anything by any doctors. They're there to as a choice. So,
although they're making it sound like in his case that he had he didn't even sound like he was in charge of his own body, and that's just the most bizarre thing to me.
Totally bizarre. But we do have the choice, and we do have the power to make our own decisions. We don't have to run anything by doctors if we don't want to. Again, this is not medical advice, not giving any medical advice here, just providing information for you to listen to. And our opinion. So anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining us on this special Memorial Day podcast. On May 27th. This is extremehealthradio.com/105. And if you could do us a huge favor in support of us, we'd greatly appreciate it. If you could go to extremehealthradio.com/love, LOVE, and click a button on that page. Even if you've done it before, it would be really helpful to us. And we appreciate everyone's donations. And, donations are one of the main ways that we are able to be sustainable. But if you can't donate, if you go to extremehealthradio.com/love, that would be a really great way to support us.
Great help.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
Maggie says it's time to go for now. But our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview,
Packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download